Welcome to my thoughts on Season 1, Episode 23 of The Flash. Fast enough, the episode is rated PG, so will this video be, other than the shortly forthcoming video recommendation. There will be spoilers for the Arrowverse leading up to and including this episode. Another episode that I absolutely love. This might be my favorite of the Arrowverse finale so far. I don't know. It's definitely in tight competition with all four of them are so amazing. Anyway, so it is Pride Month. There's not a lot of Pride stuff in this episode to read. It's difficult to do a Pride reading of this episode. So instead, I am recommending a YouTube video by a member of the LGBTQ+ community. Edgier Than Thou's The Future Depends on Your Ability to Remain Indifferent to This. And yeah, so before I get too much into detail, I did want to talk about... Let's start with the deleted scenes, actually. There are 7 minutes of them, and it's clearly just cut for time. Some of it is more of what we already get a lot of in the episode, of which I love, to be clear, not a criticism. I seriously... It's so cool that they spend, I think it's more than half the episode talking about the big thing they're going to do. There's no action before this last, chunk of it. And somehow it's never boring. They're talking about the ramifications of the time travel plan. And yeah, the deleted scenes has one bit where Iris and Joe talk about it and talk about what it was like when Barry joined their family and what's it going to be like, without that in the new timeline. There's also one where it is Cisco and Barry, and Cisco's sad that he believes he's going to lose Barry, and Barry says, no matter what, we will always be friends, And then there is one where Joseph, as Eobard puts it, visits Eobard when Eobard is in the cell. And that one I thought was the most interesting because they actually have him say that he wasn't lying when he said he missed tests. Because when he took over the body, he also got the thoughts, including the love for a woman he never met. And as soon as he said that, Joseph points out, because you killed her. Just, yeah, really, really great stuff. It's no wonder that it made it not just into the script, but they went as far as filming and editing it. It's too bad that the episode would have run long. Yeah. Anyway, also want to talk about the gag reel. Because I already really love the one for Arrow, Season 3, but this one was also amazing. Unsurprisingly, Danielle Panabaker is absolutely adorable during those. The faces she pulls, the repeated... I'm not going to say it. It's bleeped on the DVD as well, but she says F me when it... and I forget his full name, but you know what? Right now, actually, I think Tom Cavanaugh, maybe? My research was sort of check right now. Who plays Wells / Eobard. He twice says F me with a spoon twice daily. Not sure I've heard that one before. And yeah, it was very fun. There's a dance party. Actually, I guess more than one. And right, I did also want to say, so I watched, there's a Comic-Con thing where multiple shows, Arrow and Flash are two of them. I think the other two were Gotham and... I can't believe I'm blanking on it because I do have a fondness for the movie. Constantine, that's it. Two shows that I'm not currently planning on doing. If I was going to do one, it would probably be Constantine. I definitely I watched D.S. Deacon's videos on the show back in the day, and definitely sounded very cool. I quite appreciated how different it is in a good way from the movie based on those video reviews. Anyway, yeah. So at one point, Stephen Amell, who plays Arrow or Oliver Queen, is asked who he would like to do a scene with that he hasn't already, and right after giving his answer, he realizes he should have. I already forgot if it was because somebody else mentioned it or something, but he says, "Oh, I should have said Robbie Amell." And that is very cool because he did get to in the episode before this one. He also danced very briefly. And I think that does come right. Joe is also very, very fun in the outtakes. And I guess that does pretty much get right. It was also one of the places where it's absolutely adorable was Daniel Panabaker messing up her lines, and at one point she just, announces to the group, "I forgot what I'm supposed to do." Oh, and there was also a very cool bit, like, imagine being that guy. So someone was like on the phone in shot in like, I think it was a bit where Arrow is running through a shot or something like that. And so Grant Gustin goes up to him and says, "Oh, hey, you on the phone? Okay. Tell the other person that the Flash says hi." And then he starts walking away, and the guy does indeed say the Flash says, "Oh, what movie?" And Gustin just tells him, "Flash." That is so cool. I would literally never stop telling that anecdote if I was phone guy in that. Yeah, I would have a still from that outtake framed and put on my wall. And I'm not talking like a little, subtle. No, we're talking like movie poster size, standee size. Anyway, yeah, absolutely amazing finale. I guess that covers everything I was going to say about it. Just, yeah, I couldn't even, I couldn't even pretend like yeah. Okay, strap in, I guess. Yeah, so we're gonna try to take this more or less chronologically. So, oh, and I did also want to briefly note the bit where Barry is in the past. One bit of it did indeed very much. Yeah, I think it was actually just that was the part that was the deleted. There was a deleted scene from the episode before this one. So that was just that they showed. Anyway, yeah, we have I love that they redid the intro. So he's saying almost all the same words. Actually, I think maybe the very last bit where he says, "That day is today," and then continues with, "It's Nibbler's birthday," which felt really out of place. Other than that, it's just the tone and the visuals, and that was really a great way to, I wouldn't rule out that it might have also been like a time saving, like they were like, "Listen, we got to get as much of this stuff in, we're already having to cut 7 minutes, so we're gonna do the intro like this instead now." And yeah, I'm also not entirely sure that was a previously on, but yeah, if this is the first episode of The Flash you watch, like, pay very close attention and you'll just barely be able to pick up basically everything you need to be able to follow the episode. And yeah, just Eobard does tell him, right, I like the part about how, "Oh, really? You're not going to bring me, a burger because, cows are extinct in my future." And, we're told later it's not that far into, well, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously several generations worth, but I don't know, what did he say? Like 164 years or something? And I mean, I wish I could say that I feel confident that, you know, such a today common animal has not gone extinct by then, but no, that sounds terribly credible. And the thing about like, come on, you want to ask me some questions. That's not the question you really want to ask. And yeah, getting the that was it's such an emotionally complex scene, because like he comes around and says like, why did you help me with all this, and it's explained, and he says, why did you kill my mom? And he says, because I hate you. And explains about, that would mean there were no Flash if we were just too traumatized, just, yeah. And yeah, so he does say, travel back in time, and maybe you could put me forward in time. Wink. And let's see. Yeah, so they and yeah, Joe just, they have a conversation, and I really appreciate that it is, as excited as Stein obviously is about this, he's still like, no, let's still be aware, here's the risk. Can I just say, it's so great to see Victor Garber in something like this again. Like, I have not gotten to watch enough stuff that he's in. He's so good. Great on Alias as well. And to hear, like, it's just, there's such enthusiasm in his performances in both of these, just, yeah. And he just, like, he's one of those actors who can say something that kind of, like, it could easily sound ridiculous, but he sells it. He's genuinely talking about, like, well, I mean, listen, okay, so time travel's a possibility, but we could also be looking at, a wormhole, and that would not be good. Or sorry, a black hole. Wormhole is what they do want. Just that whole thing. Yeah. And Joe picks up his jacket and says, son, adoptive son, but I've raised you as a son for all these years. Time travel to save the life of your mother. And then he walks out of the room. And like, genuinely, I watched that and I was like, I thought I was the only one who every time I left a room did that. But yeah, and later he does admit, he seriously though, emotional, very effective, and he later says, I just didn't want you to do it. I didn't want you to not do it because you were worried about me, and I was faking it. That's what parents do most of the time, which I've heard from actual parents, and I mean non-fictional ones. And yeah, so two of the father figures say a go, but Barry wants it to be a unanimous decision. I mean, it's not like he's waiting for his birth father to be the tiebreaker. That's a little bit, yeah, but yeah, and his father does indeed, makes make a really good point. And okay, just really, really quickly, there was also one very funny outtake where Robbie Amell he's like lying there after the, and there's all the kind of snow falling, and he's trying to do this emotional scene, and then he gets some of it in his mouth and has to spit it out, and they have to do it over again. That was quite good. Oh right, and there was one where yeah, it was both Daniel Panabaker and Eobard. They both say something like, that was weird, or that was very weird, at the exact same time, and then one of them goes, you took the word right out of my mouth. Which is genuinely funny, because I do not offhand remember exactly, but I imagine one of them had that line and the other one forgot that it wasn't their line. And just the sheer fact that they do both power through it, like neither of them stop and just let the other one finish the line or something. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the let's see. Yeah, the thing about it's, why it won't explode this time. And I'll also just very, very briefly mention, unsurprisingly, Emily Bett Rickards was adorkable in the couple of outtakes that she appeared in. Barry tells her he's trying to do the line of "I have a friction-proof suit," but he accidentally says "prick," and so she says, "You have a picture?" Right, and she also in the Arrow season 3 outtakes, there's the thing about the bouquet at the wedding, and she's like, "Thank you, I won this," and without missing a beat, Laura's like, "You won it?" I swear I'm trying to focus on the episode. Just I love a good gag reel. Also, I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to make this the last thing I say about the outtakes, but the actor who plays Cisco did actually appear a tiny bit in the Arrow season 3 one, since he was in a little bit of that. He was actually he came across a little like serious. He wasn't like smiling and laughing too much in it, but in this one he was, as I had kind of anticipated him being in outtakes, just having fun, Anyway, the I guess that does cover everything. I really am trying not to derail this video by talking about gag reels. Anyway, yeah, so I think that might bring us to when Eddie is so Stein is like, "I am so sorry, but I kind of need this table." And Eddie takes it well, because like considering his recent heartbreak, you could understand if he was like, "I should arrest you for obstructing justice and interfering with an officer's. I'm a cop. I'm supposed to be a jerk, okay?" And he says, "I was just told that I'm nothing." And yeah, I loved Victor Garber's delivery of the whole thing with, "Well, I have a mug that says world's best boss, but my assistant would disagree with that." Just like, he is so good at delivering, stuff like that. It's same thing on Alias, And yeah, he points out with like fire in his eyes, like, "You're the coincidence. We can't plan for you." And yeah, there at the end, that's absolutely. And yeah, the thing about like that is genuinely so clever. I absolutely did not see it coming. I'll talk more about it when I get to it, but I guess that is around the place where they they build the time machine. They talk about the issues with that, the tungsten. Yeah, the so we have the bit where, oh right, I'll make it quick, I swear. In the outtakes, the I'm afraid I forget her name, but the reporter that Linda maybe, that um that the or am I just thinking Linda because I'm rewatching the Evil Dead movies since the new one's coming out? Anyway, the reporter that Barry was with briefly was also in outtakes and was also adorkable. Anyway, the thing about the it was great when Eobard talked to Cisco and realizes, the part about, "I'm sorry." No, not about what I did. I'm sure I had my reasons. I mean, and he points out this means that Cisco too was affected by, that the explosion of the particle accelerator. So that is very cool. I will say, I was wondering if the line would be something along the lines of, "That means that night the particle accelerator created the multiverse," or something, but yeah. I will say, even though they didn't go quite that far, at least not yet, who knows what the future will hold. Anyone who's watched the rest of the show, I guess. But yeah, like I can imagine this. Even at this point in the Arrowverse, I imagine it put the fear of odd into anyone not sufficiently inoculated against such, not unlike myself and other comic readers. And I guess that does bring us to the yeah, the I feel like there's one more thing before the time travel itself. But what is I like that Barry said, "Don't worry about me reaching that speed," because he already knows, he couldn't recreate it last time, but this time the circumstances, yeah. And I guess that does bring us right, the wedding was also wonderful. Um And the thing about, like, please let's not fight on our wedding day, which, I mean, if you're the holy man and he's the groom, our wedding day, an argument can be made for that being accurate phrasing. And then we have yeah, and it is, of course, very, very sweet. I like that they just handed Iris the bouquet because it's like, I mean, who else is going to catch? I don't know. I mean, listen, I know some there are some who say that it's just as fine for it to be a man who catches it. I don't see a problem with that, Anyway, I guess that does. Yes, now I remember. Yes, the part where Eddie goes to see Iris and talks about coincidences, which hits very different now that I've seen that the episode ends with him taking himself out, which, you know, in that scene, he was not thinking of that. It was, he thought that it would work, and that the time travel would rather. Anyway, the yeah, I guess that does bring us to the yeah. I think that is the time travel itself, and nowhere to travel in time, but to time travel itself. I also really like that they actually did have Ibar say, going back to the future. And we know at least someone on the writing staff is a fan already. But yeah, I think that does bring us to the, so yeah, Barry, you know, yeah, he enters the Speed Force, and Eobard explains how to guide it, and he waits for the exact right moment, and then he sees his future self shake his head. Shake the future self's head, not shake current Barry's head. That would be uncomfortable. And yeah, he accepts it. And I really appreciate, because we just had the thing about, for once, Barry Allen, think up, stop thinking about everyone else. Put yourself first. And there's the thing about, I wish it, that someone else would make the decision for me. And in a way, it's kind of a fun, because is that someone else making the decision? Because it's him. It's just other him. And, he does accept, because, like, it's not like other him is doing that to, like, screw with him or something. Although it would be hilarious if there was an outtake where, like, right after he was like, I was just kidding. Oh my. And I think I know who that steel helmet that pops out of the wormhole belongs to. I wouldn't rule out we'll see that person at some point, so I guess that makes it a spoiler. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just say that it certainly reminded me of something from the comics that feels appropriate here. Let's go with that. And yeah, the yeah. So Eobard is just about to leave, and then Flash does the super speed punch, and yeah, Eobard is enraged. And I definitely, you know, appreciated that he knew. He knew, I'm not 100% certain what it was the other Flash knew, but Eobard knew as well, and was happy to let it happen. So maybe it would, like, I certainly wouldn't rule out that maybe we'd be looking at that. Well, let's see. I guess it's not that he wouldn't become the Flash, because he did in the other time, although. But then, yeah, I certainly think it would have been bad, and Eobard would have been like, well, wouldn't affect me. Fantastic fight between them, and Eobard goes full villain monologue with saying, just to be clear, after you, I'm going to go after them and your father. And yeah, like, just in case you were wondering how just much of an evil jerk he is, it's just, yeah. And we hear a gunshot, and like my first thought is, no one can actually hit a speedster with a bullet. Oh, that was very, very nicely done. And yeah, Eddie says that this, he gets to be the hero. At this point, I am starting to wonder. Actually, that I think that works well as a closing thought. So I'll try to remember to say it. But yeah, that is genuinely really clever. And it was spelled out earlier. Stein specifically said, think about the coincidence that meant that, Eobard had to, one of the things he says is Eobard had to protect you to preserve his own life. And when he says that, he says several other things, so it's not like we're immediately thinking, oh, okay, the episode's definitely going to end with Eddie killing himself. Like, until Flash returned and broke the time machine, I thought this is definitely going to end with Eobard back in his own time. And yeah, they do get to say goodbye, just briefly. Oh, right. One of the deleted scenes also, when Joseph talks to Eobard, he pretty much quotes the Taken speech. He says, I will find you and I will, Anyway, I can't believe they actually ended it on a cliffhanger. And such an, like, it's the biggest thing that's happened on the show so far. Like, they talk about, oh, this could be a global catastrophe, and they're not even entirely sure that anything Barry does will stop it. But, obviously he has to try. Yeah, and they did that. They actually, it is self-imposed. I'm not blaming anyone else for the fact that it's going to be months before I watch more. But I'm really, really excited to see what does happen next. But yeah, like, for so much of this episode, I was emotionally and mentally preparing myself for, the way I figured season 2 would have a completely different status quo, all the same characters and actors, the regulars anyway, right? It was very interesting seeing Snart for like a second or something, and Wentworth Miller got like billing in the opening credits for that. But anyway, I guess it's possible that that means Snart is going to do something right after Barry has resolved. I do think right now my theory is definitely that he's going to fix it, but maybe something major will happen. But yeah, I was thinking we're going to get, alternate version, maybe an entire season of like alternate versions of these characters and their relationships and such. Anyway, I guess that does bring us to I think a case could be made that at this point, everyone working at Star Labs should sign a contract that says they will never, ever, under any circumstances, mess with that frickin' particle accelerator again. And yeah, I did really appreciate that Eddie, he did go out on his own terms, and yeah. Once again, I wonder if this means that Iris and Barry are going to get together soon, because, now they have this thing that, like, is it disrespectful to Eddie if they do, or is it what he would have wanted? Because he did seem to accept it, or more than he did accept it until Stein pep talked him out of it. But yeah, like genuinely, I mean, certainly they did some great stuff with that on Arrow. Somewhat similar situation. And yeah, it was incredibly cool seeing this last, yeah, him actually, the what's the word, having to stop this thing. And I think it's Stein who's like, we don't even know if that would work, but yeah, he says, well, it's like the tornado, only upside down. And yeah, and that is such a cool way to close out the season, that he's going to reverse into non-existence a black hole that is feeding aggressively on the city, as if the SimCity player just kind of, got bored, decided to throw in a disaster or something. And I guess, okay, I'm just real quick, because this is going to be the last time that I talk about this show for months now. So I'm just going to make absolutely sure there isn't something that I have not said that I'm really, really wanting to say about something Arrowverse. So I guess I did just very briefly want to note about the Arrow Season 3 finale. I do really like seeing, Felicity and Oliver, Ollie, that's where I was trying to go, happy, even if I'm not sure it's going to last. But it's I do think they deserve it, and deserve to be happy together. And yeah, the way that the show has treated Ra's al Ghul, really, they did such a great job. And obviously, it's not the league is gone. And I genuinely am not entirely sure if Malcolm Merlyn is going to be a villain or an anti-hero, or what exactly, with that power and such. And let's see, I guess that does pretty much cover everything. Yeah, with both of these seasons, the arcs and the themes very well handled throughout the season. And there's some really compelling stuff they're going to be able to do in the future. Um, I think I've said as much as I really wanted to about Arrow. But for Flash, I can definitely imagine we're going to get a more confident Barry, though it might not happen immediately. And I am, like Eobard points out, what are you going to do? I've controlled your lives for so long. What are you going to do without me? That is genuinely an interesting question. And I also can't help but wonder, because, like, technically, Harrison Wells owns ish Star Labs. are they going to be able to keep the building without any kind of, like, is there going to have to be something? Because, like, I'm not, like, did he, like, write a will that leaves it to one of the other three or something, similar to the way that Oliver lost Queen Consolidated. And that would also especially be interesting because, oh, well, let's see. I guess there aren't any metahumans in the prison, are there? Because they were all freed. So yeah, technically, hypothetically, maybe it is, and that, of course, brings up, what are they going to do about metahumans in the future? Is he going to start purposefully killing them, or is he going to work something out with Oliver? Because, like, if they have the science, hypothetically, they could probably Lian Yu the various metahumans, and then we might get, someone freeing some of them, and maybe Slade leads a bunch of metahumans. Because, like, it's one of those things of, like, he would be one of the best. It would be difficult to find a better leader. He's so tactical, so smart, and he does have, experience with this whole thing. He got a lot closer to accomplishing his also more complicated and long-term master plan than any metahuman we've seen in the Flash so far. I guess that does bring us... I feel like there's one more thing that I wanted to make sure to say. Other than that, I do... Yeah, the fact that Ronnie is apparently going to stay. I mean, I guess he's going to help fill out the roster with Eobard/Wells gone. And maybe Stein as well, actually, come to think of it. And that could definitely be something, because that would be a very different dynamic. It will be very different dynamic. And I wouldn't rule out that, like with Ronnie, if Ronnie becomes a regular Ronnie, maybe that would change things between Barry and Kate. I mean, it wasn't like, it was more like implied than necessarily full on kind of romantic relationship there, but there wasn't nothing. And I guess yeah, like I can absolutely imagine, because Stein has a very different personality to Eobard posing as Wells. And I guess they could also just in general do something interesting with, okay, so now Wells is gone, maybe presumed dead, but it's not like someone in the room can say exactly what, like they can't go to the... No, yeah, it would open up a whole can of worms, I feel like, if they told what actually happened with him. Now, I guess that does pretty much cover everything. I'm just real quick gonna... One more thing on Arrow. Something that occurred to me after I finished recording that video was, I guess hypothetically, maybe someone like smuggled the corpse of Raish to Nanda Parbat. I don't think it would have been a League member, because I think they stopped all the League members, but maybe Nissa, because, like, yeah, her father, they definitely had some issues, but does he maybe trust his father at least a little bit more, especially if she can say, hey, with my help, you could be Raish again. You don't want Malcolm Merlin being it, maybe that could be something. And or maybe it's just something she's going to hold over Malcolm's head. I don't think it would matter if she told them the truth, because there was that thing about, well, if Raish sheds your blood and you survive, you become the new Raish. Well, Malcolm pointed out, he tortured me, drew blood. So, technicality. Yeah, I believe that is everything. I can hardly wait to see more of the... I mean, really, every character who survived this season is, yeah. But yeah, I'm just gonna put forth the observation that I'm starting to wonder just a tiny bit if every first season of an Arrowverse show is going to end in the death of a cishet white male character who has some kind of reasonably close relationship to the titular character, has expressed their opinion on what they think of the vigilantism and keeping that secret and such, is the descendant of a supervillain, and their last name ends in an E sound, and around, early in their name, there's the opposite of a consonant. I can't quite recall what those are called in English. And the middle of their name has a double consonant. Is going to, who's also a romantic rival of the titular protagonist, is going to die each time, or